What's up guys, John B here from PhoneArena. You're watching our video comparison between the LG Spectrum and the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. Both devices for Verizon Wireless. You have $200 for the Spectrum as opposed to $300 for the Galaxy Nexus. They're both at the top end of the ladder with Verizon's lineup, and they both offer 4G LTE connectivity, but we'll see which is the better device between the two. If we had to pick, we'd choose the Samsung Galaxy Nexus with its design. Just looks a little bit better with its clean approach as opposed to the straightforward appearance of the LG Spectrum. On top of that, it's not as wide as the LG Spectrum, which is surprising considering it has the larger screen at 4.65 inches versus 4.5 inches. On top of that, we also like the Hyperskin finish of the back cover. It just gives you a good amount of grip, keeps it looking clean, as opposed to the plastic glossy back cover of the LG Spectrum, which makes it very slippery to hold and also attracts a lot of fingerprints. As we know, both handsets offer 720p displays. It's a 4.5-inch True HD IPS display on the LG Spectrum as opposed to a 4.65-inch Super AMOLED display on the Galaxy Nexus. So pixel density goes to the LG Spectrum. It's at 326 ppi versus 316 ppi on the Galaxy Nexus. But honestly, you're not going to notice the difference. They both look very sharp. On one hand, you have the Galaxy Nexus, which uses a pentile arrangement with its display versus a traditional RGB on the LG Spectrum. And since the Spectrum uses an IPS panel, it of course produces the more accurate looking colors, a little bit more realistic versus the overly saturated tones found on the Galaxy Nexus. But the Galaxy Nexus has the better viewing angles. You can tell at extreme angles, it just maintains its clarity. Both are very sharp looking, very lovely. It just depends on which one you prefer. Something that has more realistic colors versus something that has a little bit more saturated tones. Above the displays, you find both 1.3 megapixel front-facing cameras, which you could use for video chats and self-portraits, but with the Galaxy Nexus, you could use it for face unlock. Since the volume rocker on the Galaxy Nexus sticks out a little bit more, we just prefer it a little bit easier to feel out, and on top of that, it also has the better response. The power buttons on both handsets are pretty much the same size, and we didn't find any one to be better than the other. So in the rear, the LG Spectrum features an 8-megapixel autofocus camera as opposed to the 5-megapixel camera on the Galaxy Nexus. You can tell they both have single LED flashes. Batteries, it's an 1830 mAh battery on the Spectrum versus an 1850 mAh battery on the Galaxy Nexus. As far as storage options are concerned, the Spectrum boasts a 16GB micro SD card inside of it, whereas the Galaxy Nexus has 32GB of internal storage, but no optional micro SD card slot. Without a doubt, the Galaxy Nexus is the preferred handset just because it offers the most up-to-date Android experience with Android 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich. So you get the latest and greatest in terms of Android experience. You have a lot of cool features and sports a much cleaner overall look versus the LG Optimus skin running on top of Android 2.3 Gingerbread on the LG Spectrum. They both offer a good level of personalization with their various widgets, but we have to say it again, the Galaxy Nexus has it just for the simple reason that it's the most up-to-date. Outfitted with dual-core processors, both handsets deliver a really good performance out of the box, and they run very responsive, but on occasion you'll notice a little bit of slowdown or lag every now and then, but it's nothing detrimental, and overall still works out very well with both devices. The LG Spectrum features the dual-core 1.5 GHz Qualcomm S3 Snapdragon processor versus the dual-core 1.2 GHz TI OMAP processor on the Galaxy Nexus, and for most basic tasks, opening up applications, pinch zooming, stuff like that, it's pretty much instantaneous with both devices. So overall, they're both on the same level. One of the most satisfying things about both handsets, they offer 4G LTE connectivity, so you get really fast data speeds both on the down and the upload side. As far as the web browsing performance, of course they handle Flash very well here, you could tell, but the Galaxy Nexus just has the better movement with its navigational controls. You could tell it's a lot more fluid in movement. They're both very usable, even though there's a little bit of choppiness on the LG Spectrum, but hands down, we have to say that the Galaxy Nexus wins it in this category. Naturally, with their large displays, they make for ideal candidates for typing up long messages with their respective keyboards. You have two options with the LG Spectrum. You have the LG keyboard and also the swipe one. You only have the stock ice cream sandwich on the Galaxy Nexus, but both have really good responsive rates, though you can tell with the layout of the LG Spectrum's keyboard, a little bit larger, but nevertheless, both are quite on the same level. When playing songs in portrait, their interface is very the same. You have the album covers and on-screen controls, but if you tilt the LG Spectrum to landscape, you get this cool-looking 3D interface, whereas on the Galaxy Nexus, if you're browsing through your main albums and you put it into landscape, you get also a very similar 3D-like carousel effect, which is very nice. As far as the audio quality of the speaker, they're actually the same. They're not the strongest, rather average in tone, a little bit towards the weaker side, but at least they don't crackle at the loudest volume setting. Here we have both handsets running the same video that's encoded in MPEG-4 1920 by 1080 resolution, the top being the LG Spectrum, the bottom being the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. You can tell both are running very smoothly, and of course, nice details and colors too, so both are more than equipped in handling our needs. Above we have the samples taken on the LG Spectrum's 8 megapixel camera, and the bottom being the Galaxy Nexus and the 5 megapixel camera it has. These shots here we're showing are with the flash, and overall we have to hand it to the Galaxy Nexus. With its flash, it just seems to cast a more natural looking tone, and in indoors under low lighting conditions, artificial lighting, it just seems that the Galaxy Nexus is a little bit better equipped, a little bit more natural looking color tones versus the inaccurate ones found on the LG Spectrum. And on top of that, when it comes to outdoor shots, it just seems that the Galaxy Nexus takes the better looking details. You can make out a lot more things in the background as opposed to the LG Spectrum. And overall, if you love photos, you're going to probably want to stick with the Galaxy Nexus. Honestly, we didn't find either handset great when it comes to video recording with 1080p just because the qualities aren't the best. So the problem with the LG Spectrum is that it tends to overexpose the shots and its details are a little bit on the poor side, whereas on the Galaxy Nexus, it's choppy at 24 frames per second. It does offer a little bit better exposure and also details, but neither really offer exceptional looking videos. Call quality goes to the LG Spectrum just because voices are distinctive and clear and noise-free on both ends of the line, whereas on the Galaxy Nexus, our callers did mention our voice to be a little bit on the robotic side. When it comes to signal strength, we have to hand it to the LG Spectrum. Just seems to maintain a better 4G LTE connection versus the Samsung Galaxy Nexus, but in either case, neither handset dropped any phone calls during our testing. There's no argument that these two handsets drain battery very quickly, and compared to other smartphones, they're rather poor. But in our time using both handsets, testing them out, we find that the Galaxy Nexus is just a little bit better in terms of battery consumption, but still not stellar. So there you have it, folks. That wraps up our comparison between the LG Spectrum and the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. And honestly, between the two, we know that the Galaxy Nexus is a little bit more expensive at $300 with a 2-year contract versus $200 for the LG Spectrum. But honestly, you're going to get a lot better value out of the Galaxy Nexus just because right out of the box, it's sporting Android 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich, the most up-to-date Android experience, whereas the LG Spectrum is still sitting on Android 2.3 Gingerbread. On top of that, the Galaxy Nexus has the better looking design, just feels a lot more comfortable to hold in the hand, a cleaner look, and it does take the better photos as well, and battery life seems to be a little bit more manageable. So overall, definitely spend the extra $100, pick up the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. So if you'd like to learn more about either handset, you can check out our website, guys, PhoneArena.com. This is John V. As always, thanks for watching.